They stop messaging you. They begin to pull away. They act as if they didn't hear what you said. You sense it, that subtle shift in energy. You're no longer being chosen. You're being tested, or even worse, replaced. Most people respond the same way. They chase, explain, and try to fix the vibe. They seek closure, unaware that the more they pursue, the more power they surrender. But Machiavelli wouldn't chase. He wouldn't even flinch, because he grasps something most never will. Men offend out of either fear or contempt. If someone ignores you, it's not accidental. It's either because they fear losing you less than losing control, or because they no longer find you threatening. Yet there is a way to make them crave your attention once more, not through pleading, kindness, or punishment, but through deliberate presence, psychological magnetism, and silence that unsettles them. When Machiavelli played power games, he didn't strive to win people back. Instead, he made them regret walking away. First, you need to understand what ignoring truly means. It's not silence, it's strategy. They're signaling, "You no longer hold power over me." It's a subtle assertion of control, a refusal to acknowledge your presence, designed to plant doubt within you. And if you respond emotionally, they have already won. This is the fundamental rule of psychological warfare. Whoever reacts first loses ground. They want you to flinch. They want you to double text. They want you to question what went wrong. Because once you do, they become the sun, and you begin orbiting their attention. But Machiavellians don't orbit. They become the black hole, the force whose absence warps everything around it. You must invert the dynamic. If they ignore you, don't react emotionally. Respond with distance and elevation. Nothing is more disorienting psychologically than the person you ignore acting as if they never noticed, or worse, as if your absence made their world calmer, clearer, and stronger. This is the Machiavellian strategy. Withdraw silently and evolve in the shadows. No reaction, no confrontation, no, "I just want to talk." Just space thick, cold, and calculated. Let them wonder why you haven't spoken. Whether you noticed, cared, or have already moved on. The human mind abhors unclosed loops, especially from those it thought it controlled. Don't give them certainty. Give them silence honed like a razor. This is where most fail. They try to use silence to manipulate, but fail to change their posture. They stop texting but continue watching their stories. They walk away but keep glancing back. They claim they're done. Yet their energy still pleads for closure. That's not silence, that's noise. True silence, the kind Machiavelli would wield, is paired with a sacred indifference. You must pull back your emotional availability. No signals, no flinching, no digital breadcrumbs left behind. Let them sit in the discomfort of your total absence. This is how you train their nervous system to crave your attention once more. Eventually, they'll break. And when that happens, they won't return calmly. They'll come back confused, projecting, and curious, disguised as anger. When they do, you don't greet them with warmth, you greet them with gravity. Most people lose control in relationships, whether romantic, social, or professional, because they make themselves too accessible, too available, too predictable. The Machiavellian does not fall into this trap. They manage their presence like a potent drug. Too little, and people want more. Too much, and they grow numb. Want to know how to make someone desperate for your attention? Offer a glimpse of your presence, then withhold it completely. Disappear without explanation. Become mysteriously productive. Glow up quietly. And if you speak, make sure your words carry a weight they've never heard before. No emotional outpouring. No open vulnerability. Your communication is deliberate, rare, and precise. Because what they truly chase isn't your attention. It's the version of themselves they felt when they had it. They remember how you made them feel validated, admired, and important. Now they're left with uncertainty, emptiness, and discomfort. Let that contrast linger in their mind. There comes a moment always when the person who ignored you begins to feel uneasy. They don't miss you. They miss the control they had over you. They test the waters at random like a low-effort message. Hope you're well. This isn't a reunion. It's a probe. A Machiavellian never responds directly to a probe. Instead, they wait. If the person truly wants back in, they'll escalate. If not, they were never coming back. They only wanted to check if you were still orbiting them. You must understand, this game was never about affection. It's always been about gravity. The more emotionally grounded you become, the more people feel off balance without your pull. You don't need to chase. You simply become the presence that unsettles people when you're gone. That's how you make the one who ignored you desperate to return. And when they do, you decide if they earn the privilege of your attention again. There's a kind of silence that screams not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of someone who has become untouchable. This is where many misunderstand power. They believe power is shown through dominance, loudness, or reaction. But Machiavelli grasped a deeper truth. The wise act immediately. What fools do only later. When someone ignores you, most fools eventually break their vow. They reach out, plead, and crumble. But the wise act swiftly, not with words, but through a subtle shift in power. Because here's the secret no one tells you. When someone ignores you, true power isn't about forcing them to notice you. It lies in how little you actually need their attention. You don't chase. You don't even mirror their indifference. Instead, you rise in an unexpected direction upward. You become more visible to everyone except them. Your absence from their life should feel like they've been cut off from your light, while everyone else basks in it. This is the turning point. They sense it, a quiet anxiety born from doubt. Did I misjudge their worth? Most people assume those they ignore will always be there later. They don't expect you to grow. They expect you to wait. You must shatter that expectation forcefully. Now, let's get tactical. What should you do when someone ignores you? First, disappear completely. No responses, no reactions. More than that, erase your presence from their world as if you never existed. Unfollow if necessary. Don't watch their stories. Leave no traces. Don't linger online. You're not passive. You are strategically invisible. This triggers a primal human fear. Am I being forgotten? Not because you announced it, but because you became a ghost, not a supplicant. They will sense the void. Not immediately, not tomorrow, but eventually. When the room feels colder, the phone quieter, the attention cheaper, they'll realize your silence carries weight, and it will slowly crush their ego. Second, you become untouchable in public. If silence is phase 1, phase 2 is signal, but not for them. You make yourself visible to the wider world, not through desperation, but through showcasing your value. New accomplishments, social proof, radiant presence, photos, movement, energy. They must see your worth increasing and notice they're the only one left out. This isn't vanity, it's controlled contrast. The mind compares who you were versus who you've become. When that gap widens too far, insecurity ignites. They'll wonder, did I misjudge them? Are they happier now? Did I ever matter? Let that uncertainty fester. Let it gnaw at their chest. The one who controls contrast controls the narrative. And if you control the narrative, you dictate how your absence is perceived. You're not punishing them. You're simply showing what losing access to value feels like. The third stage is controlled engagement only when you choose. This is where most fail. They break silence out of loneliness, not strategy. But you wait, and when you re-engage, it must meet 3 conditions. You didn't start it. They reached out, and you respond slowly, deliberately, without emotion. You've already replaced them energetically. Your life is full, your confidence rebuilt. There's no emptiness to fill. You are emotionally colder than before, not harsh, just calm and subtly distant, as if they now must prove their worth to access you. This dynamic is electric. What they feel now isn't simply your absence, it's the cost of reclaiming your presence. Let them pay it. Let them try. And if they don't, you still win because you've conditioned yourself to never chase attention again. There's one final element Machiavelli would introduce: unpredictability as a weapon. Consistency is the refuge of followers. But Machiavelli understood that whoever controls emotion controls behavior, and nothing activates emotion more powerfully than uncertainty. If you want them fixated on you, stop being predictable. One day you're seen. The next, you're gone. One message feels warm. The next is clinical. Never explain. Never reveal patterns. Let them wonder who you've become, because the more they try to figure you out, the deeper they spiral around your orbit. Once they're back in your orbit, you're no longer the ignored. You become the gravitational pull they're addicted to but no longer entitled to. You're not here to plead for attention. You're here to be so powerful. People feel unstable in your absence. Machiavelli never asked, "Why did they ignore me?" He asked, "How do I make my absence sting more than my presence ever did?" And the answer never changed. Disappear, rise, and come back colder. Because when they truly experience the loss of you, they'll never feel complete again unless they win you back. And by then, you may not care anymore. There's a psychological truth few understand, though Machiavelli would have sensed it without effort. People don't miss you. They miss their access to you. That's the hidden core of being ignored. They're not withholding attention, they're testing how much you need it. They're gauging how deeply you've absorbed their influence. But when that test fails, when you don't blink, don't pursue, don't unravel, it fractures something inside them. Power feeds off reactions. But when your silence brings peace instead of chaos, they become the one unraveling. You don't need validation from them. What you want is for your silence to embed itself in their thoughts like a riddle they can't solve. Why didn't you reach out? Did you even care? Were they ever important to you? That's how psychological pressure starts to mount. And pressure only has two possible conclusions. They break or they crawl back. Either way, you win. There's a precise emotional shift that unfolds when silence is wielded with precision. Machiavelli wouldn't have labeled it attachment style or emotional instability. He would have named it strategic inversion, flipping the balance. They begin as the one who sets your emotional tone. But with your discipline, they start yearning to reclaim control. And they can't, because you no longer respond. They're shut out of your universe, and it feels like exile. Here's how the internal breakdown starts. First comes ego friction. They think, why aren't they chasing me? That's the first fracture. Their assumptions no longer match reality. Then comes the collapse of their internal story. They start thinking, maybe I wasn't that significant. They begin rewriting your past, questioning their own appeal. What follows is status panic. Who's taken my place? Jealousy, comparison, and desperation brew into a volatile emotional mix. Finally, they reach the point of impulsive return. Maybe I'll just send a casual message. But they're not coming back because they miss you. They come back because they need to feel important again. It's the control loop, and your silence triggers every stage of it. Now here's what sets a cold presence apart from cruelty. You don't retaliate. You guard your energy. Most people, when ignored, feel wounded, so when the person comes back, they lash out. But that's not strength. That's bitterness reacting. And Machiavelli would scorn that approach. True power isn't about making them feel regret. It's about making them feel irrelevant. So when they do return, and they will, you don't gloat. You don't confront them. You don't even bring up the silence. You welcome them into a world that no longer centers on them. Your replies come slower. Your words are intentional. Your time is restricted. You allow more silence to linger between messages than they're comfortable with. What strikes them most isn't what you say. It's the absence of the former version of you. They'll keep searching for the version of you they once dismissed, and when they can't find it, they'll panic. They'll perform. They'll put in more effort than they ever did when they had full access to you. That's the moment when the balance of power completely shifts to you. Machiavelli believed that power isn't something you grab. It's something others surrender to you willingly. So how do you get someone to give their attention freely again? You don't beg for it. You don't battle for it. You let them experience the void left by its absence. Even more crucially, you evolve into someone they no longer feel entitled to access. This is the truth most overlook. When you're ignored, they assume they can come back anytime they want. Your task is to become stronger in absence than you ever were in presence. That means you stop matching their energy and start setting your own tone. You don't explain why you went silent. You allow them to fill the silence with their own doubt. You don't rely on their attention to feel worthy because now, your absence redefines their value. You're not heartless. You're simply no longer an option to be taken lightly. There's a final, deeply Machiavellian phase in this transformation. You give them a brief glimpse of what they've lost and then take it away again. Just as they believe they've regained your focus, you withdraw gently, silently, with a poise that shakes their certainty. You are warm now, you're aloof. You are open now. You're unreachable. You are visible now. You've disappeared. This isn't mere inconsistency. It's a psychological grip. You're no longer the person they once dismissed. You're the enigma they can't let go of, yet can't access on demand. You've become the puzzle they're desperate to solve. They're now chasing your attention without fully understanding why. And the irony is, they'll think you're playing games, but all you did was refuse to be diminished. They began by ignoring you. You ended it by becoming unforgettable. Their silence, once used as a weapon, has now become their own cage. At this point, you've stopped asking, why are they ignoring me? You've grown past that. Machiavelli never wasted energy on questions that weakened his stance. He asked only this: how do I become so psychologically commanding that my silence feels like punishment? That's the final evolution of this game. You're no longer pursuing validation. You're no longer proving anything. You've turned your attention into a currency rare, valuable, and worthy of reverence. When they dismissed you, they believed your value was static, that who you were then would be who you always were. Available, predictable, revolving around them. So you disappeared not out of revenge, but to grow. And now, when they inevitably come back, they find no one waiting. You've risen. You're elevated, distant, untouchable, like glass between you. Here's one of the harshest truths Machiavelli understood. People don't regret causing you pain. They regret being shut out after you rise. The version of you that waited for their texts, checked their updates, kept the door open, that version no longer exists. And when they come knocking now, you don't answer with resentment. You answer with discernment. You're not asking, should I let them back in? You're asking, do they contribute to the empire I'm building? Because when you free yourself from the need for acknowledgement, something transformative happens. Your words become fewer, your moves more calculated, your presence heavier, your attention intimidating. They don't just crave it, they fear losing it again. That fear is your advantage. Let's sharpen this with one of Machiavelli's most potent concepts. It is safer to be feared than to be loved. This isn't about cruelty. It's about unpredictability, about others understanding that losing your respect comes with a cost they can't afford. That's your new operating system. They can ignore, ghost, test, or underestimate you. But if you apply this properly, they'll regret it, not because you lashed out, but because they finally grasped what your silence meant. Your silence was never weakness. It was a verdict. A final opportunity they failed to meet. And when they did, you didn't crumble, you ascended. Here's your closing playbook. You now hold the Machiavellian code for emotional dominance. First, master your response. The moment you react emotionally to being ignored, you surrender power. The Machiavellian holds still lets absence speak louder than emotion. Second, withdraw mysteriously. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't announce your retreat. Let your absence reflect their smallness in your world. Third, evolve in silence. Let your success be public, but your process remain hidden. There's nothing more powerful than surpassing expectations when they assumed you'd stay small. And fourth, if you return at all, come back colder. And when they finally reach out, not to love you, but to reclaim control. They're met with a version of you that no longer depends on them, a version refined, distant, and impenetrable like polished steel. Because their choice to ignore you was never about your value. It was based on their belief that you'd still be waiting when they circled back. Machiavelli didn't strive to prove his worth. He let the world experience the cost of losing him. And that's exactly what you've done. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You didn't offer explanations. You walked away with your pride untouched and came back wielding a strength they never imagined you'd possess. Let them sit with that. Let them question whether they ever really understood who you were. Let your silence make more noise than their attention ever did. Because the second they dismissed you, they forfeited access. And the moment you refused to chase, you became unforgettable.